the long run, it's not going to work. On the simple fact, I've talked to a few of them that are still in the military, and I brought up the point to them. And, you know, there's scuttlebutt going on in the military about this martial law. Some of them, you know, are over here, you know, getting trained for it. But anyway, I've asked them a question that, okay, if you're detached and they send you off over to, say, Oakland, California, and you're herding all these people around and putting them in FEMA camps and all this kind of thing, what's to say that there's not another bunch out of Kentucky back in your hometown doing the same thing to your mom, dad, brothers, sisters, whatever, that you're doing to people out there in California?
No, that's it. And the Soviet Union, the Nazis, that's how it's all done. And they actually have public plans to do that. And they signed a deal this year. They really signed it 7 years ago, but they made it public earlier this year. It was in the news without Congress. Congress said, we weren't involved in that. Why weren't we notified? You know, that's our authority. Used to, the Congress had to even commission an officer. You know, the executive couldn't even pick the officers because an executive might try to set up martial law by putting his officers in. So separation of powers, Congress had to do that. Well, here was the Canadian, Mexican, and U.S. generals signing a North American Union pact to fight terrorists and for civil unrest. But here's the problem. They're not just going to send people out of Kentucky into Northern California, or people from Texas into Minnesota, or vice versa, or from Florida to Georgia or whatever. They're not just going to do that. What they're doing is they are going to create an economic implosion where, through hyperinflation, they're not going to increase the size of the welfare check or the Social Security check, and people aren't going to have jobs on top of it. And so even if they still get the checks, they won't be able to buy what they need, so the rioting will start, and we'll see news images of scum stealing TVs, shooting firemen, as they've been caught doing before, and then it'll be legitimized, and the troops will say, well, things are breaking down, we've got to do it. We saw that in New Orleans. So see, this is going to be done psychologically, where the military is going to be seduced into going along with it. What's your take on that from Arkansas, Jimmy?
Well, I think that might work to a point, but you're still going to have this problem of just out and out, you know, one American turning on another one, irregardless. You know, the military, you're common. Okay, they've been called every derogatory name in the book over the years, dog faces, everything else. But when it comes right down to it, your average ground pounder, they're not stupid by any stretch of the imagination. And they're going to be able to figure out that somebody somewhere down the line has gave an illegal order. And under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, they are not obligated to follow an illegal order.
Well, let me ask you this question. And again, I'm not playing devil's advocate. I'm saying how they're going to sell it, how they are selling it to the public. And
I don't think that they'll ever be able to overcome is just your out-and-out conscience. And trying to pit one American against another American, just to be pitting them against it, that'll work for a while, you know, because you're going to have a honeymoon period where it's all new and exciting and yada yada. But after a while, it's going to start wearing on them. And
no, I hear you, but I'm going to skip this break for PrisonPlanet.tv subscribers watching on PrisonPlanet.tv and people listening on the InfoWars exclusive streams. For everybody else, we'll be back in 4 minutes. Stay there because, Jimmy, I'm going to continue having this talk with him. We'll come back, go to Matthew, David, Ahmed, Ryan, and others. We're already under martial law. We're talking about hot martial law. Okay, we're going to go ahead and skip that break, John. Thank you. My point is, what they're going to do is, Jimmy, and the military needs to know this now, they are going to stage strategic televised killings of troops trying to get food to rioting people. There are also regular scum out there who, every time there's riots, who shoot the firemen and police. You're going to have them as well. And so those incidents, just like in Seattle, They had all the riot police, the Delta Force, and the feds hired 50 thugs through a foundation. They let them attack police. The low-level cops didn't know what was happening. They pointed out, though, that they weren't allowed to arrest them. Then the 50 anarchists retired to a government-paid-for building under police guard, and the national news said, look, now the anarchists are going to be attacked by the police. You know, they waited a day while the public said, somebody's got to do something here. Somebody's got to stand with these anarchists breaking out windows and attacking cops and doing all of this. And so then the cops were turned loose on the peaceful 60,000 people, beat old ladies with clubs, attacked them, went into neighborhoods, went into businesses. So it's the psychology. They're going to stage attacks on troops in the first stages of physical hot martial law, not judicial or legislative or executive martial law through the courts, through corruption, you know, this incremental, but real martial law. They're going to stage events to psychologically get the military behind all of this. So how do you respond to that?
Well, you got a good point there, and a good valid point. But in this day and age, okay, you stop and think about this has been brought up repeatedly. All these cameras running around. Let's go back to that deal with you and this Michelle Malcolm. They sat there and they said that you did this, that, and yada yada yada, and you didn't do that. And everybody and their dog anymore has some sort of video device, whether it be their cell phone or their Kodak digital camera, whatever. Somebody is going to get a picture of something somewhere.
You know what? I agree with you, and that's the answer. We have to war game this out. Tell you, like wargaming a chess game, what their moves are going to be in this war game, so we know how they're going to run the psychological warfare operation on the public, the military, the police, and everybody. And I agree with you. Just like in Montebello earlier this year, when we caught them and it ended up coming up on national news, but the Patriot movement caught police dressed like anarchists, attacking cops, staging their arrest, them being released, and the police had to admit they staged it. In Seattle, we exposed it was staged. In other parts of the world, and so now people know and are looking for that. And you're right. In Minnesota, they caught the cops staging some stuff. So you're right that the cat is out of the bag. So I agree with you. Last question for you, unless Bob has any for you, Jimmy. I
just wanted to say that that's what the info war is all about, isn't it, Alex? That's why you're sitting there.
Well, the main war is getting people to know history and know how these controllers operate, so that we're not telling people what to think. We're teaching people how to open their eyes up and analyze things for themselves, because light of day will bring this New World Order down. But finishing up, Jimmy, you say scuttlebutt. I mean, they admit they're training the military, they're training the police for urban warfare, for domestic suppression of the population. You say you talk to people in the military that say, yes, it's going on. What do they think when they read the Boston Globe saying it isn't going on? I mean, doesn't that add to this, that the media is lying about it?
Yeah, they don't have a whole lot of faith in mainstream media at all, because, I've got a son in Iraq, somewhere over there. I worry about him every day. And it makes me sick on a simple fact. He's over there in Iraq under the same guise that I was over in Vietnam, and it sucks. There ain't no other way to put it. Sorry about using that phrase on your radio, but anyway.
Hold on, we're coming back to the full audience. Repeat that and expand on air. Here we go.
Today, alone on a hill, the man with the fool.
We were just talking to Jimmy in Arkansas. He was in Vietnam, his son's in Iraq, and he was saying what he doesn't like is that the same criminal syndicate that was over him in Vietnam is over his son. And that's the paradox here. The courage of the men and women in uniform, the hell they go through, and what do they get? They get their medical treatment cut. The vets are having their treatment cut that was promised to them. They're shot up with all these experimental vaccines. Finish up your point, Jimmy.
No, anyway, the military doesn't really buy into mainstream media. They'll sit there and like you said earlier, that they'll deny that, there's not any real urban training going on here or there or anywhere else. But whenever it's actually caught on somebody's private video device, and they put it like on YouTube or Google or whatever, or put it in a blog on their personal website for the whole world to see, it kind of throws a lot of egg in mainstream media's face. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that the mainstream media, everything that they say is a lie, because, it's not. There's some stuff that they're accurate on. But they're really, really good at deception.
Well, I mean, obviously, most of what they say is true, so that they can then trick you with a little bit of disinfo on key subjects they put out.
Yeah, you tell a whole lot of truth and throw in a couple of three, lies. It's kind of hard to sort out what's fact and what's fiction.
Yeah, it creates a haze of not knowing.
Well, I'll say that, in their defense of the mainstream media, they are very, very good at sports scores and are not too bad at weather.
Well, see, they're not lying about those things.
That's right.
But here's the deal.
They spin everything else. That's the problem.
It's not even lying most of the time. It's spinning. Or it's lying by omission. I mean, here's the thing. I'd go to an urban warfare drill in Temple, or an urban warfare drill in California, an urban warfare drill somewhere else, and I would witness the troops training for America on video, saying, where are you from? I'm from San Francisco. Where'd you get the gun? Where'd you get the... And then I'd see Marines doing real checkpoints with police helping them arrest people. And then I'd come back, and then I'd be at the event, and I'd see CNN there, and I'd watch the CNN report, and they'd say, the Marines were doing urban warfare drills for Central Asia in the future, and, of course, for Macedonia. And in a way, it's true because it's dual-use training, but it was the main function was for the United States. So see, that's how you know they're lying, because we just showed people the video of what the Marines were actually saying.